Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are tackling a concept that honestly sounds totally backwards at first. We're looking at the idea that you can actually achieve way more in your life and in your leadership by ruthlessly subtracting the unnecessary. We're constantly told we need to add things, right? We need more tools, more habits, more data, more decisions. But today, we are flipping the script to uncover the absolute game changer that is the art of doing less. So I want to throw a question right back at you. And it's one that kind of completely challenges our standard obsession with productivity. We are all under this immense pressure to optimize literally every single minute of our day. But what if the very act of trying to juggle and manage all those options is exactly what's slowing you down? What if doing better doesn't mean doing more at all, but instead requires a total reframing of how you use your mental bandwidth? Okay, let's dive into this. Executive coach Michael Serwa hit the nail on the head here when diagnosing this modern trap. He points out that when high performers feel exhausted, they almost always just assume they're physically tired from working so hard. But what's really draining them is decision fatigue. It's not a lack of physical energy, it's cognitive friction. It's this invisible, exhausting cost of unclear thinking. Leaders don't just run out of energy, they literally run out of space to think clearly because they are constantly, endlessly negotiating with uncertainty. I mean, think about the world we operate in right now. It is essentially cognitive warfare. Psychology shows us how we're bombarded daily by social attention management that completely obscures what actually matters. Add to that these availability cascades that blow minor, everyday issues up into massive systemic crises. Just think about the sheer, unadulterated chaos of trying to navigate an overflowing, disorganized inbox. This modern noise relies on our cognitive biases to keep us distracted and clicking. But true leadership, it requires the exact opposite. It requires a state of stillness and precision that slices right through all that noise. Now, our natural instinct when we're overwhelmed is actually to fight that noise with even more noise. Historically, this additive approach is called the cataphatic, or affirmative way. As Deirdre Carabay notes in her theology work, this is the way of addition, trying to understand or fix something by just piling on more attributes. And in our daily lives, this looks hilariously familiar, right? We try to solve our overwhelm by downloading 3 new productivity apps, scheduling extra meetings, and hoarding more data. But really, it just creates more friction. So the crucial point is, we have to look to the exact opposite approach, the Via Negativa. That's Latin for the negative way or by way of denial. Originating in ancient apophatic theology, this is the art of understanding something by stripping away what it is not. Instead of trying to solve our modern noi crisis by adding more and more solutions, we solve it through the deliberate, absolutely ruthless art of subtraction. We find our clarity by removing the unessential. Section 1. Automating your attention. To actually apply this Via Negativa to our own cognitive load, we first have to understand why aggressively removing distractions is so necessary. Have you ever heard of the famous invisible gorilla experiment by Chabris and Simons? So, participants watch a video of people passing a basketball, and they're told to carefully count the passes made by the team in white. Right in the middle of the game, a person in a full gorilla suit walks in, thumps her chest, and spends 9 full seconds on screen. And astoundingly, half the participants miss the gorilla completely. No way, right? But it proves that human attention is incredibly selective and highly limited. We simply do not have the bandwidth to process everything. And this brilliantly illustrates why we have to curate our mental environment. Imagine a perfectly organized pegboard in a workshop. When a skill or a process becomes automatic, it takes way less mental effort, just like a master carpenter knowing exactly where their favorite hammer is without even having to look. By intentionally automating your mental tools and routines, you free up massive amounts of cognitive bandwidth that would otherwise just be wasted searching for answers or making redundant choices over and over again. Section 2. Mental minimalism for leaders. This brings us to Michael Serwa, who advocates for what he calls mental minimalism to stop the slow erosion caused by daily decision-making. In the absolute core of this is shifting your reliance from motivation over to structure. Because honestly, motivation is a trap. It fluctuates, it forces you to constantly gauge your mood, and it just invites anxiety. Structure, on the other hand, relies on subtractive rhythms. It's a stable, solid practice that actually survives your worst days. When you build strict rhythms, you subtract the daily, exhausting question of, well, do I feel like doing this today? Serwa breaks this down into a really specific cadence of structure. It goes like this: write daily, decide daily, review weekly, resolve monthly. Now, this rhythm isn't just about scheduling. It's an active, protective mechanism. It ensures consistent execution and stops you from carrying around this heavy, dragging backlog of unmade choices. By tying these rhythms to specific, undeniable deliverables, like a single written paragraph or a recorded decision, you protect your ambition and you completely subtract the noise of uncertainty. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how it integrates thought, emotion, and action into 3 distinct layers. To actually achieve mental clarity, you first check your alignment with your core values and your constraints. Second, you make the decision cleanly, without putting on a performance or creating unnecessary drama around it. And finally, and this is vital, you write a single-line summary and name the exact next step to fully close the loop. This subtractive process literally sends a signal to your brain that it can stop rehearsing the past, freeing you up completely for whatever comes next.
Let's move to Section 3, Radical Honesty and the Manager's Readme.
So how does all this build into how we interact with others? Well, Richard Breezeboy introduces this fascinating concept for visible leadership evolution called the Manager's Readme. And look, this personal user manual isn't just some fun, quirky corporate document where you list your favorite coffee order and your dog's name. It is a profound act of subtraction. By actually putting your values, your expectations, and yes, your flaws down on paper, you strip away corporate illusions and unspoken assumptions. It acts as a mirror, creating this incredibly clear framework of accountability between you and your team. Because here's the thing, once you articulate exactly who you are, your team will immediately start observing any disconnect between your stated words and your actual actions. And that is exactly where the productive tension happens. Instead of immediately defending your intentions when you inevitably fall short, you engage with the reality of your impact. You use that feedback to evolve the document and yourself. You are literally subtracting the rigid certainty of having to be the infallible boss and replacing it with genuine, open curiosity. Breezebois captures this perfectly with such a powerful stance. He says, not "I know the way," but "I'm on the way, and I welcome your help in getting there." By voluntarily giving up the illusion of total control and perfection, which is, let's face it, probably the hardest act of subtraction of all, you actually end up building far deeper, much more resilient trust with your team. Section 4, Reclaiming Your Focus. All right, so how do we pull all these concepts together to build an environment where crystal clarity replaces constant grinding effort? You do it by implementing subtractive rituals for what Surwa calls calm velocity. Instead of ending a meeting with 5 loose, vague ideas, end it with a single owner and a single commitment. Start your sessions by subtracting the noise. Literally take a 1-minute silent pause with your team before anyone even speaks. Take strict device-free 10 to 15-minute nature breaks to reset your cognitive load. And default to asynchronous written updates to just eliminate the constant interruption of meetings. These small subtractive rituals build this contagious calm that just spreads like wildfire throughout an entire team's culture. So what does this all mean for you? I want to leave you with a final provocative thought. Take a hard look at your calendar, your habits, and the endless sea of options sitting in front of you right now. What is one unnecessary decision or one piece of cognitive friction that you will eliminate today? Apply the Via Negativa right now. Stop adding and start subtracting. To help us keep cutting through the noise and bringing you the absolute best structured insights, please like and subscribe. It really, truly helps us out, and we will see you in the next one.